fine. Welcome everyone. My name is Basha Ferdinand. For those that don't know me, I am the Accelerator Program Manager at Tampa Bay Wave. So I'm definitely excited that you all are able to join us as we're transitioning into more of virtual programming and still providing services for our community. So we can definitely consider you a part of our community as you are here on this call. So definitely glad to have you all here. Just a few updates on Wave, and if you're not already a part of our communications, you know, if you found out maybe about this webinar through Facebook or another platform, we definitely encourage you to sign up as we're going to be putting together more of these sessions, and definitely want you all to stay aware of what's going on. And then one of the main things I definitely wanted to announce today, that Tampa Bay Wave is putting together a relief fund for startups in our community. So that campaign is going today. You can definitely visit our Facebook page to find out more information about that. I definitely don't want to come off too salesy, but you know, it is, you know, we're trying to do our best as a nonprofit to support those right in our community. So if you or any others would like to be either sign up to be a part of that relief or just to promote it, we definitely appreciate that. And so, yeah. Like I said, all that information is on our Facebook page or on our website as well if you want to learn more about that. So not to delay things further, I definitely want to get into the topic for today. So today's session is going to be facilitated by Robin Spoto. She is the founder of Spot On Digital. She is also one of our amazing mentors at Tampa Bay Wave. She's definitely involved, very passionate and caring about our company. So when I saw this topic in Spot On's newsletter, I was like, this is great. We definitely have to have this shared with our community as well, and she was very willing to set this up. I think we did it maybe within a week's notice, which is also a benefit of these virtual sessions as well. So with that being said, I'm going to pass it on to Robin, and she can take it from here.
Thanks, Basha. I appreciate the time, and I appreciate all of your time. I know even though it seems like we have more time in our day, there are many more distractions. Kids at home, spouses working from home. So your time is valuable, and thank you for spending it with me. I do have a lot of good information to share, so feel free to ask questions in the chat box as we go through this. And I'll answer them as I see them, or at the end, we can have open discussion. I want to be sure to leave time for that. If you have examples or specific questions that I can help give advice on. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we'll get into the deck. Good to see all of your faces, and we'll see you back after we do the screen share. Okay, can everybody give me a thumbs up if they can see my screen? Awesome. Okay, so this is the topic, how to manage major marketing pivots, and it's what we've been talking to all of our clients about. We're getting lots of questions on how to do this right. We're seeing some ways, some really great examples of doing it right, and some wrong ways, in our opinion. And the intent here is to preserve your brand at the end of the day and continue growing your business. Let me share a little bit about myself and what I want to walk through with you today. So as Basha mentioned, I'm a mentor at Tampa Bay Wave. I started Spot On back in 2015 on the heels of exiting a tech startup that we grew out of Wave, actually, the Mama Bear app. We sold that to Grom Social, and it gave me an opportunity to start this company with a lot of knowledge about growing companies using the digital opportunities and landscape to do that. So I love being able to share that knowledge with the Wave companies and the companies that I mentor. Never hesitate to reach out if you have other questions beyond what you see today. The position we're in right now is a shifting landscape. And so let's define that a little bit and talk about what that means. And when you're in a shifting landscape, what kind of mindset do you need to be in to implement the right pivot plan so that you're communicating effectively, listening to your audiences effectively, and then really learning from what others are doing and the examples that are presented to us. I've also provided a good number of resources and support links. So most of the influence, not only from our experience, but also from gathering knowledge from others online, we've included this here for you so that you have it available. So when we're looking at a shifting landscape, to me, this means that we all need to really be thinking about marketing in a much different way. We know that marketing is not a static process. It is iterative and always changing. But what we see sometimes is that businesses make these shifts and they pull away from communication and messaging and continuing to keep their brands in the forefront. The process of shifting is happening all of the time. Sometimes it's slow and sometimes it's fast. Right now, we are in a very immediate and drastic shift that's influenced by either a natural disaster or an economic shift, a pandemic. And so you have to change things more quickly and in the short term. This will, in the long term, probably change things at a slower pace. But right now, we need to get in the mindset of a very immediate and drastic shift, and the marketing team being those that influence the company and other influencers within the company to be in this mindset of iteration, creativity, and most importantly, empathy, having a very empathetic approach and how we communicate as brands to our audiences. So what do you do to help get your team and your company involved in this shift in mindset? Well, number one is that we recommend that you pause and you have these discussions and you evaluate and plan for what you need to do. So reviewing your ad campaigns, your social media schedule, your email editorial calendar for what's upcoming, take a pause there and see where it needs to be adjusted. Discuss among your team some of these really important questions. Not every company, particularly startups, aren't thinking about business continuity support. So they're worried about getting their businesses up and running and growing. However, we get blindsided sometimes with disasters, hurricanes, pandemics, other natural things that happen, and there aren't business continuity plans in place. How are we all going to work from home? How is our system going to continue working? What can we do as a company to mitigate risks? So if those discussions aren't happening prior to an event happening, you're scrambling to make these things, to vet these things out. So if you haven't had those discussions, you need to start having them. But most importantly, how do we communicate to our audiences? Our internal teams, one of our really big audiences. What are we saying to them, and are we giving them enough information and resources to operate where they need to operate? Right now, in the course of our pandemic, many of us are past this point where we've been working at home for quite some time, but there's still challenges that we're having and resources that we still need. So keeping those communication points open is really important. And then how do we think about the same kind of messaging for our customers and our partners, and are we communicating to them effectively? These are all good discussions to be having as a group to get everybody on the same page. Products and services, what are the best ways we can serve our customers today and in the short term and affect their business today? So shifting where we might be thinking about marketing communication for innovation and long term needs to sort of be readjusted to the now. How can we be most relevant today? And then, there's this mindset of still being really productive with your teams and with your relationships, with your customers, but it's just going to look a little different. So we may not be at an event as a sales team building relationships, but how can we use the tools available to us remotely to still build relationships with our customers? That doesn't need to stop, it just needs to shift. Taking events virtually, connecting with them more directly on LinkedIn, social selling a little bit at an elevated level than you may have previously. how as a company can we get to the core of our values and really be sure we're living those values so that it's the center of what we're communicating. All in all, our goal as companies right now is to preserve the humanity of our brand and keep employees while we can maintain and grow businesses. So if we go into this practice of shifting with that objective, we're all going to be okay. When we're in that shift of a mindset and we're in this shifting landscape, there's no better time than to leverage your marketing teams and leverage the skill base and knowledge that these marketers have. Now is when we pivot and start preserving our brands. Marketing is always essential, and so many times this is when marketing gets pulled back on, and it really should be the team you rely on as brands to help communicate correctly. So using the skills and the creativity of your marketing team to help you pivot is going to be the right roles that you bring up to the forefront. There are two things that I want you to think about when you're thinking about leveraging your team with the right plan. Two things: there's a communication plan and there's a sales support plan. With a crisis communication plan, you need to really think about the empathetic approach of the message that you want to send to your audiences. But first, identify who it is you're going to communicate with. So we talked about internal, your employees and your vendors. We talked about customers and segments of customers. If you already have persona segments for your customer base, continue to keep that segmentation. And then you might have partners or other outside audiences that you need to communicate with. So when you think about breaking your audiences out like that, you want to communicate to them a little bit differently. I've seen a whole bunch of emails, and so is Casey Musgraves, as you see from the screenshot here, of corporate brands that we have not heard from in a very long time now popping up in our inbox. And it truly is same sentiment, Casey. I have the same sentiment. It makes me feel like I need to start unsubscribing to things because I haven't heard from you in forever. You don't know me, and you're just dropping in my inbox like you do. So be careful. There's this fine line of like how to communicate, when to communicate, and who to communicate to, and be aware of what the receiver on the other end is going to be thinking about. If you think about it with an overarching theme, which is your goal of how you serve that particular audience, you can do this pretty successfully. If this isn't the first time you've heard from them, that they've heard from you, if there's a list that you want to send to because you feel like you need to get this message out to everyone, second think that, don't send a message about how much you care during this time of coronavirus if this person has never heard from you or hasn't recently heard from you. Think about how you might approach that hasn't heard from you in a while list differently. And get to the point and be really relevant. So you might be getting emails and communication that's like, we care so much, we're doing this, we're washing our hands, our employees are working from home. That's everybody. We're all thinking like that. But how can you, Mr. Brand, in my email box, affect me today? What is your point and how can you help me today? And those are the things you need to bring up in the email or in your communication and save all of the niceties maybe for the bottom if people want to read that far down. It's not about you at the top, it's about your audience and your customer at the top. And be really relevant for what you are talking about. So if for us is Spot On, I'm not communicating to people about safer at home and how to properly wash your hands or how to properly disinfect your home. I'm helping you by giving you these marketing messages and opportunities. That's the way I can be relevant for you and help you. Once you come up with what that communication plan is going to be, you'll then create the assets, whether that is an email or a landing page on your website. Maybe it's a video. All of us are getting much more comfortable behind the camera. and sharing a heartfelt message and how you can help your customers, and then use your distribution channels to do that. So this is one half of the plan. This is the communication piece. But there's still that need to support sales and grow the business or maintain the business with the services that you provide. So when you think about the other half of this, it's your marketing plan and your sales support plan. So we treat this a little bit differently. We're still relying on the overarching themes of empathy and communication that we talked about in the first half, but you're also still trying to maintain your business. What you don't want to do is act as if nothing has happened. So that means still market things that are, you hope are going to happen in May, an event that's going to happen in May. Well, that, if I were you, I'd pause those promotions of anything happening in the future and really narrow in on some things. Reassess your marketing mix. Where do you currently have your money planned, and where are your organic messages planned? Try to avoid cuts across the board and simplify. If you can get simplified to your core values and the core offerings, like you do something really well. Each company does something really well. We believe this is the time to really get back to that and focus on what you do really well, and stop trying to sell all the peripheral, hopeful, innovative things of the future, served with how you can be relevant right now today with what you're really good at. So it's that simplification, narrowing of the core. And then scenario planning for your budgets with the best case scenario, a moderate case scenario, and a worst case scenario. So when we say plan for those scenarios, actually document them, write them out. If this happens, then I'm going to implement this action plan. If this happens with the business and our revenue is reduced by this much, here's how I'm going to activate my moderate plan. If the worst case scenario happens, what is the minimal maintenance level of marketing that I need to be doing? So, that's an important practice as you start to put this plan together. Again, back to your communications, adapt your message for sensitivity and focus. I have some really great examples that I want to walk through with you, but you'll see this adaptation of messaging to tone down the selling and tone up the helpfulness and resourcefulness. You can still sell, but not as directly, in my opinion, as you would for a more sensitive time. You can also start to narrow in on bottom of the funnel tactics and prioritize those. So when you're on a streamlined budget and you're really, trying to simplify things, the first thing that I start to peel away would be branding campaigns. Let's go for what people want that are in market for something right now. Those might be search campaigns or nurture campaigns of folks that are already in your funnel. So think about the short-term conversion opportunities and start to peel away the longer term. You still want to have them because there's still going to be a longer term in this, but when you're really trying to narrow in on something, those would be the peripheral things I would start to peel away so that you can focus. If you've been maintaining a marketing engine, nurture campaigns and automations are really great in this time. However, make sure you've paused them, you've evaluated the content of them, and you're observing for sensitivity and tone given this time. We've read plenty of Adweek, Ad Age, Forbes, Entrepreneur articles, and we're seeing this same line over and over again. When times are good, you should advertise. When times are bad, you must advertise. And some more examples to come that support that thought. So communicate and listen. I actually want to pull up the chat box in case there are any questions going on. Okay, we'll get back to that. All right, so when you communicate and listen, I want you to do this not, again, back to iteration, not with the thought that, oh, phew, I've completed my communication plan and I've put it out there and now I feel better, let me move on to the next thing. No, now is the time where you need to proactively listen now that you have your messaging out there. And it can take time to listen to your audiences and really understand and be open-minded to what they're needing. Your customer is going to be the one to tell you how you can make your business better and how you can really grow your business. But if you're listening to them correctly with an open mind, you'll be able to be flexible enough to serve them better. So have your listening hat on after you've put some messaging out there. So ways to do that, to proactively listen, certainly on social, monitor comments, make sure you have monitoring on specific hashtags. You're listening to different folks in your industry that are influencers in your industry. Be sure that you have some monitoring going on for your at mentions of your brand on social. Your customers are trying to talk to you, and there's so many ways for them to do that today. But you need to receive the message. Monitor auto reply inboxes. So we get really great emails set up and we send it out, but we send it out with a no reply return address, and that's a no-no. Make sure your reply address on your emails are actually going to be able to be received and read. Again, if people are replying to a message that you sent out to them about how much you care, yet you don't give them an opportunity to reply back to you, that's a closed communication structure. You want to keep an open communication structure. We see this happen often. And this is a perfect time to get insights from your sales team. So marketing is aligned with sales when all things are working well, and this doesn't change that alignment. You need to hear from them and what they're hearing and what their customers are telling them, so that you, as their support team in marketing, can navigate through those waters with them and be sure that you're putting out the right messaging to support them. The pain point that they're going to be able to tell you, and the pain point that you're going to hear when you're proactively listening, is going to let you respond in a way that they know you're hearing them. Just like any real communication with a person, when I reiterate back to you what you're telling me, it makes you feel heard. Your customers also want to be heard, and being able to hear their pain point and serve them to handle that pain point is a great way to listen. Respond quickly. If possible. I know we're all sort of on a strapped resources for our teams, but if you can respond quickly. And if you have the opportunity to delight them with something that they weren't expecting, do that. Doesn't mean you have to, but if there are opportunities to delight somebody during this time, it comes across really well for your brand. Fine line to not overpromise. You don't want to come off as not authentic or genuine here. You want to be sure that you're able to serve with what you're saying you can serve with. So be careful, but if you have an opportunity, find a way to delight them. Industries are changing. I mean, every day we are keeping up with the advertising industry specifically, and looking at these benchmarks and the types of industries that dollar-wise on AdWords are changing. Like, what are the click-through rates for different industries across the board? Which ones are being more successful now today? Staying on top of your industry benchmarks is important right now, because it gives you a strategic way to adjust for yourself, or to stay within that leadership position of your industry if you understand what others in the industry are doing. And another way of making sure you're staying on top of things is monitoring your site campaign and analytics closely. So get into your Google Analytics, see how people are navigating your site, what content they're navigating to, what they're reading of your social posts, what are they engaging with more on social. You have all of the tools at your fingertips to monitor that kind of data. So we have put together a communications plan. We've put together a marketing sales support plan. And now we're listening and we're communicating. And those are the top 3 steps to keep your iterative process going through this time. Keep that in mind. It's refined, but can get very detailed on those 3 steps. I have some cool examples to share with you, and then we can open it up to some questions after some of the examples. So this is one of my clients, Vector Solutions. They're located here in Tampa. Their corporate headquarters they have over 200 employees, and I work closely with the senior communications VP and their whole team. They have grown in the last 3 to 5 years through acquisition, and we have been working tirelessly prior to COVID on aggregating all of those brands and communicating to our audiences to tell those customers of all the multiple brands that all of them are becoming one. We're becoming Vector Solutions. We have landing pages, we have banner ads, we have for 20 different brands that are aggregating all under Vector Solutions. We're working on a major website. When we got faced with this opportunity of the pandemic, my client was very adamant to pause all of that with all great reason. They're a learning management software, and they do performance optimization as well through all these acquisitions. And so she and her executive team felt this strong need to help their customers with what they're good at, their expertise and their resources, and started putting an action plan in place. Now, company that large, software company, they had business continuity in place. They were able to deploy their team remotely and started doing some scenario planning. From a marketing side, they paused all of their campaigns and pivoted with a way to flex their expertise and serve clients. So we've created this Coronavirus Resource Center. They have created, in the short amount of time, have created 6 different video courses, complimentary to anyone and everyone that wants them, but focused on the clients that they serve and the communities around them. A lot of their business is in the public sector space. So they are serving firemen and healthcare workers and law enforcement and their public sector division. So these videos that they were able to do as part of what they do anyway for their clients, they were able to shift and flex their expertise with the creation of these videos. We shifted the tone and the message very quickly, and the concept of the brand evolution that we started with Are You Ready? All of our brands are becoming Vector Solutions. We still kept the ready word and are able to say that we're ready, but we're ready to help you. This is our turn to help you because you need to continue helping others. So the match of the theme and message is still there, but it's taken all of the other piece away and really focused on what is today, which is helping our clients through the coronavirus pandemic. The other thing that I thought was so great is that she has mentioned a number of times how they're leveraging their company culture. And that means, when she defines her company culture, she defines them very entrepreneurially and with the word grit. They're going to weather through this. They're going to power through it. They're going to work hard and do everything they can to support the company. So fall back on your culture, fall back on the company's culture, and make sure you're flexing that as well. Okay, a couple of other examples. These are some email examples that I thought were great. Canva, I'm sure many of you use Canva. It's a design tool that helps us create graphics very easily. That's their expertise. And with that, they have created ready-to-go graphics for all of their customers. They didn't start this email going, as the CEO of Canva, I'm doing all of these things for my employees and I'm doing all of these things personally. No, their email is, here's what we do. We're great at this and we're going to help you because we're going to provide these for you. I thought that was a really great way that they're supporting their community. I love Chick-fil-A, so of course this one, again, it's how are you helping me right now? Well, you're deploying your delivery service really quickly, and guess what? I'm gonna take advantage of it because I love Chick-fil-A. So that was really smart of them. It still shows they care, probably more so than telling me, I care about you so much. They're just showing me that they care by putting that message out there. And even in an industry where, you know, it's hurting, American Airlines, they're not asking, you know, much of me. They're asking me to support what everyone else is trying to support today, but they're going to give me something if I do it. They're going to give me some miles. That was really smart of them to do. There are a ton of bad examples. I didn't include them here, but you have them in your inbox. Go check them out. There's some lessons from the past that from an advertising perspective is interesting. And when I read these examples, it made a lot of sense. And this is the area that I feel like gets a little more sensitive because people want to not spend money right now. It makes a lot of sense why they wouldn't. But when you look at some really cool examples like this, in the Great Depression, Post cut back significantly their budget. Kellogg's came in and took the top spot because they were able to stay front and center in the consumer's mind. Quick serve restaurants during the 90s, Pizza Hut and Taco Bell. Pizza Hut had an increase of 61% of sales. And same with Taco Bell had an increase, and it took McDonald's out of the top spot. Looking back at something that I can relate more to because I remember this experience is 9/11 and GM launching their Keep America Rolling campaign. And you see automotives taking this, the automotive industry today, taking lessons from the past example because they're now today offering lots of financing, 0% financing for purchase of cars today. So even in this hard time, they're still finding ways to serve. And a great example that they're leaning on is what happened during 9/11 in GM. And then this last example here is with Amazon growing during the Great Recession in 2009. They warrant that to being the point where they grabbed the consumer's mind with being really innovative with the Kindle launch and seeing some tremendous growth in sales on Christmas Day in 2009. So resources and support, I've linked to all of those, and we have a number of articles here, but this is some continuity support articles from Hunter Business Law, Fortune Magazine, of course the SBA, and Gartner. I've just found some really great information on as well, so that's great. And then these are different articles that we're reading that you can review. So I wanted to open up for questions so that you can ask, share any examples that you want, get my advice on anything, and see if you have any thoughts on what you've seen today. So I will stop sharing my screen and open it back up to Basha.
One thing I did forget to mention earlier for everyone on the call, if you registered through the Eventbrite link, we will be sharing the recording of this presentation, and Robin offered to share the actual slide deck as well. So you will receive that as well. But definitely, if anyone has any questions, feel free to turn your mic on, and now we can have a space for that. Or if anyone wants to share, you know, maybe something that you've implemented new within your marketing strategy that you saw worked or hasn't worked, this is definitely a safe space to do that. So yeah, we can open the floor from there.
Well, hey, Robin, this is Robbie. How are you?
I'm good, Robbie. How are you?
Good, good. So less of a question, more of a comment, a couple things. And I was frantically taking notes as you were walking through it. So, but a couple things hit home. I think for me personally, while I'm the vice president of sales, I have a direct influence over marketing. And as we're all trying to come together as a leadership team to make this pivot, you know, one thing that really hit home with me on your presentation is focusing on what we're good at. While as a company, we have lots of solutions for IT organizations, I think we need to focus on what we were born and bred to do, what kind of how we developed ourselves as a company, and kind of focus on that technology. So that really hit home for me because we're actually working on some email campaigns now, and we're trying to position what you would refer to as advanced technology or emerging technologies. And I think we just need to go back to what we were good at. So, and kind of focus on that. So thank you for that. And then the other thing that it just sounds so simple, but it was overlooked was closed communication. So our email piece did not have a reply email to it, believe it or not. So we just, I was looking at it as you were talking through it. So great call out there because that was going to be a big miss on our part. So again, you know, no question, just more comments, and I appreciate you putting this together, and thank you, Wave, for coordinating all this.
Thank you, Robbie. And I mean, so Frontier is in divisions of Frontier is who Robbie works for, but so many things that you as a company can be doing for your clients. And we're seeing the growth within the telecom industry. How is that affecting you specifically? Are you seeing good growth too? And is that what's causing this change in communication?
Well, yeah, so to answer that question, and I'll be short. You know, part of our messaging and part of our mission statement is to help customers get prepared for certain situations like this. You know, from a business continuity standpoint, and you know, now we're seeing our business grow, and it's customers that are being reactive to not being prepared. So it's kind of helping us position our technology and get in front of these customers and really talk about, you know, protecting their data and, you know, security, and, you know, how do I deploy a mobile workforce, you know. So we're seeing some good opportunities now. So it's kind of helped us, you know, the pandemic has kind of helped us, you know, with lots of activity going on right now. So
Good to hear. Happy to help too, or you
Yep.
know, if you want to talk through anything more.
Sure, yeah. So the presentation will be available shortly through the Evite. Is that what it is?
Yeah, Eventbrite. It'll be
Yep.
sent to whichever email you registered with.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Hey, Robin, this is Stella.
Hi, Stella.
How are you?
Stella.
Thank you for putting this on. I've heard a lot of great things about what you do, so I'm really excited that I'm able to join you this afternoon. I do have a question about, for companies whose cash flows have been negatively impacted by this crisis, if they still want to market, but they're cutting their marketing budget by a lot for obvious reason, what are some of the things that they need to be thinking about so that they can get the most bangs for their bucks?
Organic. So the organic methods that we rely on, usually when we're building foundations before we layer in paid, are making sure your site is in really great shape. Is your content on your site clear? Is the message that you're presenting on your site talking specifically to the audience that you're trying to go after? Are you calling out the audience? Do you have good call to actions on your site? What are you asking them to do? So go back to the foundation when you don't have any more money, and that is a really good site. Make sure your email lists are in great shape. It's a good time to scrub and clean and segment your lists that match your customer personas so that you can speak to your personas differently. And then rely on your organic social as well. That's a harder channel because the algorithms change all the time and they like paid quite a bit. But you still have organic communication distribution through your email and your social, your sales team and direct relationships that they have with customers. I even read something that says this is the time to get on the phone and talk to people, so whenever your paid amplification methods start to dwindle, you're getting back to one-on-one, and that's okay. Just make sure we're doing it with the right tone and the right message, but get back to the basics, get back to your foundation, and make sure they're really solid so that when you are ready to come out on the other end with some amplification, you can come out fast.
Yeah, that's great advice. Thank you.
Yeah. Other questions?
Yeah, I mean, if anyone has anything else, I'm sorry, was someone about to ask? I thought I saw someone about to go on mute. Yeah, we definitely want to create a safe space. Robin, is there a way that people can get in touch with you or any preferred method? Oh, wait, someone says they have a question. Michelle? Or someone said I do.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Sorry about that. I was on mute. Good afternoon, everyone. My question, Robin, is I've done really well online with some B2C.
Oh, I think you went back on mute, Michelle. I didn't catch you. I'm not catching your question.
Sorry about that. Okay, so I've done really well on the B2C side. My question is, right before all of this happened, before COVID happened, I was preparing to launch some B2B products. And I feel kind of, I don't know what to do, if I should move forward and go ahead and launch those, although it was a new thing for me, and see how I do, or like you were just saying, go back to the basics. I feel like my safe haven is on the B2C side, although they are, in a much different position right now as far as spending money.
Robin, you're on mute. You can unmute yourself, Robin.
Sorry about that. I would ask questions back to you about your B2B service. And do you feel as if the service you're offering, if you were to launch in the B2B space, could help companies today, given the environment?
Absolutely.
If you feel strongly about that, then, even evaluating, could I help businesses more right now than consumers right now? And if that's the case, then it's the perfect time to make a pivot to make yourself useful for those businesses. It gets to the question of what am I really good at and who can I serve best right now? And if you feel like you can serve those B2B customers better right now, then it's certainly worth launching. Some of the greatest brands have been launched in recession. I think it was Forbes magazine, actually was launched in a recession. And it was a magazine that you had to pay for at the time. And so when people weren't spending money on toilet paper, they were spending money on a magazine, So if it's helpful and it's needed and it's needed, then it would be a pretty good time to think about launching.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, I'm a nurse by trade, but I write wellness programming for, up until this point, it's been nurses, but I'm going to now move over into businesses, and I definitely can restructure the message where it's helping their employees stay well right now.
Sounds like it would be a worthy test.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for that question. And before I was saying, Robin, if you want to share any way people can get in touch with you to maybe if they have further questions, and then maybe through LinkedIn or through your company's page, if you can share that with the group, that'll be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. I might have it at the end of this deck, but I'll drop my email address in chat right now, and you can certainly reach out that way. And then when we send the deck, we'll be sure that my contact information is on the last slide.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And thank you again to everyone who was able to attend. We hope this session was valuable to you and that you can, take to implement these new strategies into your businesses or your own personal marketing methods. And definitely feel free to share it with anyone that you think could benefit from it as well. As I mentioned, definitely stay tuned to future events that the WAVE will be hosting as well. Or if there's a topic that you haven't seen presented in the community yet that you would like to see someone facilitate on, we're definitely taking suggestions as well. We have a mentor network at Tampa Bay WAVE of almost close to 100 mentors at this point with a wide range of expertise. So if there's a particular topic you would like to hear on, just definitely reach out to us and we can definitely coordinate that. But again, thank you to Robin. We appreciate your time as well. And we hope everyone enjoys the rest of your day.
Thank you. Take care. All right. Have a good day.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Robin.
Thank you.